Hi everyone, my name is Kaylin Torres. The title of my project is Sensory Overload versus Structured Learning, the Role of Children's TV in Speech Development. I want to give a big thanks to Dr. B who helped me throughout this entire process. And before I get into my project, I wanted to introduce you all to someone very, very special for me, my little brother Caleb. Caleb is 6 years old. He loves going to school. He also loves taking pictures with me, obviously. His favorite food is peanut butter, and most of all, he loves watching TV. And when I was growing up, I would always be the one to take care of him when my parents would be off to work. And I quickly realized how much of a best friend TV would become for me. I would put on a show, he's all entertained and occupied, and I have some me time, right? Everyone's happy. Well, there's always this one show that my mom would always say, change the channel to. He always gets a little bit more quieter, less communicative, and even aggressive when that show is on. And for this to make sense, one last thing you need to know about Caleb is he has minimally speaking autism. So that basically means he understands a lot, but expressive language can be difficult for him sometimes. He uses some words and sometimes repeats what we say in a process known as echolalia, but producing full sentences is still mostly out of reach for him as of now. And so why am I telling you this? Well, it's known that children with ASD are prone to having sensory sensitivities. And research shows that an overexposure to overstimulating media content that can disrupt these sensitivities may cause speech delays. So I want to put you all in the mind of Caleb real quick. I don't know about you all, but when I was growing up, this is the type of television show I was watching. This is from the 2000 show Franklin. I'm going to play a quick clip of the theme song from the show for you all. And while you're looking at the visuals and listening to the music, I want you to think to yourself, how does this make you feel?
Hey, it's Franklin, coming over to play.
So you may have noticed that the setting of the show has very soft colors. It's very subdued and calming. Even the theme song is a sing-along tune with the narrator talking about the main character's life. Now I'm going to switch it up and show you the show that my mom would always say change the channel to. And it's this one. And it's this one. And if you're one of the lucky few who don't know this show, this is from the popular, well-known children's television show today called CoComelon. I'm going to do the same experiment with you all, but with the theme song from this show, and I want you to ask yourself the same question. So if you may have noticed, this show has very bright colors, a lot of visual elements, and looks like something overall you'd see out of a fantasy land. Even the theme song is just a compilation of buzzing noises with xylophone sounds and children yelling CoComelon at the end. So if you may not have guessed it, the overstimulating show is, spoiler alert, CoComelon. But what I wanted to know is, what are the specific features of children's television shows supported by research that contribute to overstimulation in all children, not just children with ASD? And I also wanted to know which specific shows have these features and how might they impact speech development. So the four main features I found in my research were visual pacing and editing, which includes the scene cuts, moving and flashing visuals in the show. Auditory environment, which includes the music, sound effects, and voice overlap in the show. As well as speech and language structure, which is the rate, repetition, articulation, and clarity of this communication in the show. And finally, narrative and emotional tone, which is the show's story structure, predictability, and emotional intensity. So through my research, I wanted to know how these specific features impact children's language development. With visual pacing and editing, when a show has a lot of moving scenes and rapid changes, you can see that the show can increase a child's cognitive load. So a child is always trying to decipher what's going on in the show, but with these fast-paced shows, it can actually reduce executive function immediately after viewing, which can in turn impact speech development in children. With auditory environment, when a show has a lot of sounds and background noise, that can compete with a child's ability to comprehend the speech in the show. So we need a show to have clear and direct speech to improve a child's language uptake. For speech and language structure, learning speech and language improves when a show has clear expressive vocabulary and a slow pacing and speech that has repetition, because when a child is constantly hearing a certain word, they're more likely to intake it and use it later in their day-to-day lives. And finally, this is actually the most interesting one I found in the literature, narrative structure and emotional tone. We want a show to have that conflict and resolution arc, that beginning, middle, and end, because that can actually improve how a child is able to take away from that show instead of having chaotic structures. So I used a scoring system while looking at a variety of shows, which my roommates found a little scary at the time. But the first, with my scoring system, I had a 1 being low and developmentally supportive, 3 being a show with moderate and mixed features, and 5 with the show being high and overstimulating. So when it comes to different features, visual pacing and editing, when a show has a 1 or 2, that means the show has long scenes, minimal cuts, slow transitions. But when it has a 4 or 5, that means the show has rapid cuts, flashing visuals, and constant motion. Same with auditory environment. With a 1 or 2, we're looking at minimal background noise, clear speech, and no overlap. With a 4 and 5 being constant music, loud effects, and overlapping voices. For speech and language structure, a 1 or 2 would be a slow rate, clear articulation, repetition, and clear syntax in the show, while 4 or 5 would be fast speech, reduced clarity, and little repetition. For narrative and emotional tone, a 1 or 2 would be linear story, a predictable structure, and a calm emotional tone that this show exudes, while 4 or 5 would be fast plot shifts, high emotional intensity, and chaotic structure. So now putting all of these shows into a category, I found 4 shows for each of the categories I'm going to show you today. Here is what I found for low stimulation and language supportive. I have Franklin, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, the neighborhoods are doing very well, and Bluey. So all of these shows exhibit slow pacing, clear speech, and predictable narratives. They're very good when we're trying to support a child's expressive development because of these features. Now, there were some shows that couldn't really be put into a specific box, and the research had very mixed views on all of these shows. We have Sesame Street, Dora the Explorer, Paw Patrol, and Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. What I found very interesting was specifically for the show Sesame Street. I always thought it was a very educational show and the perfect show to show a child when trying to develop their language. However, just because a show is educational, it doesn't mean that there's specific features that might not still have high processing demands for children. And now lastly, here are the high stimulating and overstimulating television shows. We have Cocomelon, Blippi, Ryan's World, and Baby Shark's Big Show. So what's really interesting about all of these shows is that they all originated from YouTube, which kind of shows that clear rise in overstimulating content for children. Nowadays, children are looking at their parents' phone, going onto YouTube and getting their stimulation from that. But all of these YouTube shows actually have very high features of rapid pacing, constant sound, and reduced clarity, which can actually increase cognitive load and reduce language processing opportunities. So it's very important to look at the specific features that these YouTube shows are exhibiting for children. So all in all, I hope you all realize that throughout this entire presentation, I did not use the words good or bad, because children's media is not inherently good or bad, and media affects children in all different types of ways. But with this project, what I really wanted to do is spread awareness on not just how much children's television children are watching, but what they watch and the specific features that can contribute to their language development. Thank you so much.
All right, questions.
Hi, that was an awesome presentation. That was awesome. I was wondering how many episodes of a certain show you would watch to be able to determine its rating.
Yes, so the very scary part for everyone around me. I would try to watch a season of a show, which usually incorporated kind of 15 episodes, which each type of show, because and also the research helped me a lot because there were a lot of research studies that already had their opinions on the specific types of shows. So with a combination of those two, I was able to classify each of the shows that I was watching.
I currently have a 1-year-old, so I am very invested in these type of reviews on children's TV. Something I noticed recently is I turned on Netflix or whoever is showing Sesame Street these days and noticed that a current episode of Sesame Street had these added graphics, cartoon graphics pop up and sounds, whereas old school Sesame Street did not have those things. So I would say Sesame Street is probably the longest running show that you talked about. Did you, what did you find around that kind of change of like Sesame Street has been around forever, and maybe 10 years ago or so it would have ranked lower versus now where they've added all these extra things to their shows?
Yeah. So when I was doing the research and conducting this analysis, and I was trying to find what can I see is as an overstimulating show versus a non-overstimulating one, it was really interesting because like I saw all of the present day shows were more so in these categories. Even the ones in the mixed and moderate category, we have kind of we have some shows that are like very, very present today, and it's kind of saddening to see that change, and that's why it's very, very important that we're really monitoring what our children are watching, because the shows in the low stimulation category, they're all old school. We have Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, which has been around since forever. So it's very interesting to see that change, but also kind of concerning when we're looking at what we should show our children to keep them entertained, but that's also educational as well. So yeah, and there's even shows today that are very, very mixed, like Peppa Pig I wanted to include, but there's so many mixed reviews on that show. So it's interesting to look at, but also important to be aware of.
Hi. Yeah. First of all, yeah, very good presentation. I love that. I was wondering, like, why do you think you see that change from like old shows that were maybe like less overstimulating and had like more structure to it, and then nowadays, like, why do you think that there is this kind of shift towards more like overstimulating content for kids?
I think the big thing comes with the media developers. They're more so want to get children's attention instead of teaching them something. That's why one of the categories was so important, the narrative and emotional tone. We're losing that conflict and resolution, those morals that come with a show that are actually very important for a child's language development. So it's really up to the media developers when they're coming up with this, instead of trying to get that cash grab of just those bright colors and loud sounds and those actors just coming in their faces. It's important to actually take time to make shows that have morals and values and that can have repetition, that clarity, the slow pacing of the language in the show to actually help our children learn language.
Yeah, one more maybe.
Great presentation. Thank you so much for sharing. And I just wanted to know your thoughts on what is the best way to get this information to parents? Because like you said, a show could be very educational and seem really good on the surface, but then have like a lot of overstimulating elements that you might not know. So like, what's the best way we can talk about this with parents so that they're aware of it?
Yeah, so trying to reach out to parents, it's always a sensitive topic, trying to tell a parent what to do with their child or trying to, say what's best for them. But I think the main thing that we have to focus on is just trying to start this conversation. Because I feel like the conversation is always about the amount of TV we're watching. We know that a lot of TV is not good, but what are the features that actually make it bad? And I'm just really trying to get it out there. I was just on the Health Matters Sergeant podcast with the help of Dr. B, who helped me with that opportunity, and just trying to talk to more people about this issue, because with more awareness, we can make more change.
All right. Thank you so much, Kaylin.
Thank you so much.